and welcome to Class Dismissed, brought to you by Freedom Project Academy. I'm Katie, joined by Dave, Jim, and Lindsay. Now, we're going to get right into it because we're going to begin with Harvard and Boston, as they soon will be limiting the number of A's awarded to students, and the students are throwing a fit because, I want my grade A. And apparently, they are just not having it over there on Harvard's campus. So let's take a look.
A Harvard faculty committee is proposing a sweeping change to its grading system that would limit the number of A grades awarded to undergraduates. According to the Harvard Crimson, the committee recommended capping A's at 20% for every class, with flexibility for up to 4 additional A's per class. And the plan aims to curb grade inflation. If approved, the reforms would take effect in the 2026-27 academic year.
Isn't that just how grades always kind of were? That you always sort of worked around this bell curve? So not everyone was getting the high A, and obviously then not everyone's getting an F or anything. We should have a mix of grades in there because you have a mix of students. And just to be clear, this is not A minus. This is just the A designation. I was a solid A- student.
Look at this breakdown from year to year. 2012, 35% of students at Harvard got an A. And then 12 years later, 66% in 24-25 got an A. So yeah, it should be changed. It should be curved down.
So a former student of mine is a current sophomore at Harvard, and when I saw this article, I reached out to him right away to get his take on it. And he was actually one of the people who helped develop the student body survey that had over 800 responses as to how the students felt about this proposal. And his point was, I think, a pretty valid one. He said the approach that they have to the 20% cap, in his mind, is not the right approach to curb the grade inflation. He said the root cause is that reduced rigor in classes is causing students to perform higher, noting that some courses are graded at 60% of a final grade based on participation alone.
Wait, what?
60% of a final grade on participation alone. Take-home exams.
Wow.
Take-home homework.
Stop.
Very little rigor.
Participation, though, does that, because some people say if I show up and just sit there, that's participation because I showed up. So
Right.
that could be even worse than just you actually have to speak up in class and engage with the conversation. If it's just I'm here and that's 60% is just showing up. We do tell our students, hey, guys, just got to show up sometimes.
Can you imagine a student earning 96% simply because they're showing up?
Wow.
And how do you determine?
At Harvard.
Yeah,
at Harvard.
Yeah. This is an elite school. It's an elite institution, right? The smartest kids go here. The other point he made, and this is a valid point too, when kids graduate from Harvard and they want to go into postgraduate programs, the GPA requirement has also been inflated over the last several years, just like we see the number of A's that are being distributed. So in order for a kid to go on to other higher ed beyond college, they have to have a high GPA or they don't get into the program. So by implementing this policy, which, by the way, Princeton did in 2014 and then rescinded it after the fact because they realized the backlash was going to be so outstanding. But the idea here is professors have to do a better job of holding kids accountable for the learning, right? It's about the content and the knowledge. When you graduate from Harvard, you should be considered one of the smartest and most experienced and intellectual people in the country, right? So I think that's what it comes down to, is what's happening inside the classroom. It's not necessarily the grade inflation, but how are we getting to that grade?
Yeah. It's not just Susie being like, Professor Johnson, I really want to be a doctor. I really need this A, and my mom spent $80,000 on tuition.
Whatever happens in higher ed, though, comes down to the K-12 levels, right?
Yeah.
Because I was teaching in a public school when COVID hit. Once COVID hit, this was our grading scale, okay? If a student did 50% of the work to 100%, they ended the year with an A.
Oh.
If they did 0.1% to 49%, they ended the year with a B. And if you did 0%, you ended the year with a P for passing.
Can I go back to school? Because I would be so smart.
Well, but let's take a look at the stats that we just had up before, saying how the grades were broken down. Wow, there's a little bit of a spike there in that grade of A being handed out in the darkest green. What year was that? Oh, 2020 time? What happened again? 2020 time?
Everybody
Where
learned
all of a sudden
online.
Everyone went to online, so all of a sudden everyone gets an A. Stay safe in your homes, everyone. You get an A, and you get an A. Where's Oprah
This is the
Winfrey?
academic version of participation trophies in sports.
It really
It
is.
seems like it. And how disappointing as a parent, like you send your kid to Harvard thinking they're going to get this Ivy League education.
Yeah.
And
Well, and this plays into how the professors are talking. Like, this is what we say, that college is just a business. It really is, because these professors are pressured that they have to give out A's, not just even A minuses, but A's, so they get a better rating on, rate my professor.
or they want to be
they-
everybody's friend.
Yeah, appease the students, because students talk. That's about the only time they talk to each other. Maybe they text it to each other. I'm not sure. But they will, like, don't take that professor. He's too hard. He doesn't give out
Yeah.
the A's. Or, oh, this guy over here, take him. It's pretty easy. All you got to do is show up once in a while and you get the A. That's what education seems to have come to be at Harvard, if this is the approach they're taking.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's about it. That's, wow. Harvard in a nutshell.
How long do you think before they rescind that policy?
Oh.
Probably
let's
a
see,
year.
since
'Cause
the
it seems
article
they
just got
they
put
already have
out.
people crashing out.
They're crashing out.
Yeah.
We're going to say, we'll see if they fight back or if they...
I wonder if
Say
their
no.
enrollment for the next year will
Well, if they allow everybody in
Yeah.
to take their money, then who knows?
right.
But hey, what we need is, students who come out the other end able to at least try to talk to potential employers. and instead, what we have, apparently, if you go to Harvard, is your parents may actually need to accompany you to a job interview, because you just don't know how to talk to anyone, because like at Harvard or wherever else, you're just getting an A for barely participating. So I guess the stats are in half of the generation currently, Generation Z. Yep, they're bringing their parents to job interviews. Why?
I could not believe how many parents actually sat in on interviews with their kids, either virtually or sometimes in person. That absolutely floored me.
So what are the employers saying about this?
I can't imagine that most employers are happy about it. I think that it really shows the lack of maturity in the kids and the Gen Zers that are doing this. But I'm sure that there are some employers, especially of smaller organizations, I think of those mom and pop shops that are probably okay with it, but I would not think that that is the norm. We have a generation that has been called the anxious generation, and I think that that's some of what we're seeing in this behavior from parents. But I also think that parents see what's going on in terms of getting a job, and they know that it's a lot more difficult. And so I think they think that they're trying to help their kids, but when in reality, it's holding their kids back because they need to be more independent in the workplace.
Yikes. All right, everyone, think back. Your first job interview.
Can you even imagine?
As a former high school speech teacher, this one hurts my heart a lot. They used to have a course in high school called speech communication, and every kid was required to take it. Not anymore. You know why? Because they're not measured on that anymore on the standardized tests. So they eliminated it so they can focus more on reading and math. And so what we're finding now is these kids are coming out of school. They don't know how to communicate clearly and effectively. They can't advocate for themselves. They can't express themselves. They can't speak intelligently on important topics, whether professional or personal. I am so happy to be sitting here and to be able to say at Freedom Project Academy, we offer a rhetoric, persuasion, and oration course, because this generation of students needs it more than ever. And if we can't have kids who are able to communicate with a prospective employer to be able to demonstrate their skill, talk about their qualities that they'll bring to a potential occupation, what kind of workforce are we going to have in the future? That's really scary.
Well, and the thing is, this is the same generation where a lot of the kids, if you ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? They're like YouTubers, which you would think that would mean you would need to be able to communicate.
Right.
But then again, you're an entrepreneur, right? Because you're just in front of the screen instead of having to truly interact with a human being in the same room with you. So when I saw how it said, 77%
That's
had
crazy.
taken their parents, I'm like, yep, that kind of makes sense to me.
You know, I like the Gen Zers, though, they're always in their feelings. We
Correct.
understand that now. But my problem is not with them. What self-respecting adult
Right,
goes
yeah,
along
exactly,
with your
exactly.
adult child to a job interview? You know what's funny is I actually saw a story very similar to this about a year ago, and I made a post about it saying if I would have ever asked in my entire life for my parents to go to a job interview with me, their immediate response would have been, go pound sand.
Go.
Yeah.
No, that's very,
If my mom showed up at a job interview and they'd be like, do you know this woman? I would say, I've never seen her in my entire life.
Right?
I don't know who she is.
part of me wonders, I mean, at least once this had to have happened where the Gen Z are sitting there and the parents like on the side. I went out, the parent got hired because they were probably like, wow, this sounds like a good job. Maybe I should take it. And then the kid's
Yeah.
like, wait, I was going to take this job.
I mean, that's taking helicopter parenting to a whole new level. And she noted it in the video, too. What this is doing is it's causing severe mental health issues for these kids because they have no opportunity to develop independence for them. Yeah, I mean, they can't do anything on their own. They're so codependent on other people, not only their parents, but just people in relationships. And they haven't learned how to deal with, learn coping skills to deal with life's difficulties.
Yeah.
I mean, it's overprotection and enabling to the nth degree. It's really sad, too, because you're hurting these kids emotionally. They're fearful that they're going to damage their self-esteem.
Right.
And they haven't learned how to develop competence because they can't do it on their own, and the parents coddle them and feel sorry for them, and
I agree.
they got to get tough.
Well, and I think like one thing I struggle with being a mom of two boys is like I know they have to go out and make mistakes. Like it's like this saying like hold on loosely. Like, do I want to hover and be a smother? 100%. But then I'll have a bunch of like wet noodles for kids, and I don't want that. Like
I
they
wanna be a
need
smother mother.
Right.
Smother mother.
I mean, I guess I understand going. I do understand if you were the parent going to one of these interviews, if your 30-year-old son stays in your basement all day staring at
Yeah.
his $60,000 feminist literature degree, then I would, it wouldn't happen to me, but I
Oh.
would go and try to help
That's
him get a
true.
job, I suppose.
But it's kind of like when do you stop? Are you going to go on day one to their job with them? Are you going to drop them off, pick them up,
Right.
make sure they have their lunch made? Like, I don't, where does it?
You got to draw the line.
Yeah, where do you
somewhere.
And
draw
are they
line.
getting a job? Are we talking like a job at Subway?
Yeah,
or
what
like,
kind of job?
or
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
like he's going to be a dentist.
Yeah, I think these are corporate positions. I mean, these are
Oh
corporate
my
positions.
gosh!
Yeah,
that's
but
so embarrassing.
it's further evidence of the dichotomy that we have between self-preservation and self-sacrifice, right? So some of the hardest things that we go through in life, we have to sacrifice. And you were just
Right.
talking about dealing with those bumps, the ups and downs, the failures, and overcoming them to know that we can eventually succeed. So if we don't learn the grit and the perseverance when we face challenge, then it defeats the entire purpose of our existence, in my opinion, because as our goal here at our academy is to really have a rigorous curriculum that allows students to experience challenge, find ways to achieve success despite the struggle. It's all about discipline. So my son just ran the Dopey Challenge at Walt Disney World. It's 4 races in 4 days, a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, and a full marathon, 48.6 miles.
That's awesome.
He's not a runner, guys. He's not a runner. He trained for it for almost a year. But that's what discipline does for you. When you train for something and you advocate for yourself and you put yourself at stick-to-itiveness, I call it the stick-to-itiveness, right? If you have stick-to-itiveness, you can accomplish just about anything. And our generation today of these kids, they just don't have that. They've never learned.
Well, on the other end of parents, going to job interviews with their kids, what if their little kids are being summoned to a job or maybe jury duty? We have a story about a 4-year-old, not a 40, but a 4-year-old who was summoned for jury duty. How did this happen? What is happening here?
I have so many questions.
When Darien dermatologist,
I'm just a baby.
I'm a kid.
Dr. Omar Ibrahimi,
There's the pink mini.
that's his daughter, Zara, got a letter from the state of Connecticut Judicial Branch this week.
I opened it up and I saw that it was a jury summons.
He initially thought the jury summons it contained, naturally, was for him. But when the proud father and husband took a closer look, it turned out the summons was for Zara. Zara, who's only 4.
We told her, we said, Zara, you got called for jury duty. And then she looked over it and she said, I'm just a baby.
The summons orders Zara,
And what's your favorite color?
who's just now learning to read, to appear in Stamford Superior Court. State jury officials say a mistake was made, but it happens
Clearly.
only rarely. What's most likely, Zara's name popped up in Connecticut Department of Revenue Services records, the only agency that doesn't include birth dates.
It was kind of funny because they asked for education levels, and I think the earliest level did not complete high school, so that's what I was forced to check.
That's what I was. I don't know.
She showed up in the Department of Revenue
Yeah.
records?
How?
It's so I looked up that the Department of Revenue, it's for people's privacy, to protect people from identity theft, and that's why they don't include birth dates unless you give it to them.
Interesting.
Bizarre.
But then how do you not catch a fort? I mean, still.
All I've been saying is I've been trying to get on jury duty for literally decades, and I cannot get summoned. I am very upset. And a 4-year-old.
Do you imagine if she asked questions? She'd be like, "Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Elsa
Why?
or
But
Anna?
I feel
Why?
like she would be very objective. Probably
Yeah.
more objective and unbiased than most adults.
True, that is true."
I have a would you rather for you.
Ooh.
Would you rather have a jury full of 4-year-olds
Okay.
or a jury full of federal level politicians?
Ooh, 4-year-olds.
For sure, without a doubt. Not even close.
would be
I did
amazing.
get called for jury duty one time, and I got selected.
Oh.
We started the trial, and in day 2, the prosecution witnesses kept disappearing. They wouldn't show up. They were AWOL. And so they had to call a mistrial because they weren't showing up, even though they were subpoenaed to testify.
Is this like a mob case or
It
something?
was a murder.
Woo.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a murder.
Why am I just now
By
hearing
knife.
about this?
I got called in for jury duty a
Very
couple years ago in Milwaukee County, so biggest county here in Wisconsin. And it was interesting, because you're sitting there in this, they have the big jury pool, 40 people or whatever it is, and they ask you your name,
Okay.
where you live,
do this.
what you do.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll do fine. But at the
Ready.
same
I'm
time,
so ready for it, you guys. I'm so ready.
but at the same time, the
Pick me.
defendant, who obviously guilty until proven innocent, right? But the defendant is sitting there.
Yeah.
Here's all my information. Do whatever you want with it.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know if I like that.
I just want to get selected, you guys.
It is fun.
Yeah, see?
It's fun.
I feel like a loser. A 4-year-old girl in
A
Connecticut.
4-year-old got picked
She
before
got
you.
picked. That's how it makes me feel. It's going to cry in a corner now. All right. Well, I mean, you all know jury duty has its perks, right? You get paid like $10 for the day or something.
Something like that. And you get to get off work, too.
Yeah, and you get off work.
Woo.
Okay. Well, for the rest of us who haven't been called, we have to work on our budgeting skills, okay?
True.
So you guys may be doing fine here with your jury duty payments, but the younger you are to learn how budgeting works, the better it is. And we have a good little family story here where there's a 6-year-old and she knows exactly how money works.
Okay, so you have $70 in savings right now. 70. That's almost 100. In spending, you have 71, but you do owe us some money today, so we'll go through that. And then in giving, $8 in
baller.
giving.
How did she get all this
so
money?
you have $70 in spending, but do you remember what you owe us money for?
The fairy cup.
The fairy costumes. Do you know how much money that was? Do you remember?
No.
$25.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, okay? And then how much money do you get today? $6. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so count that out. Make sure that's $6. Where do you want to put those $6? And first, remember what happens if you put money in savings.
You put the same amount.
That's all right. We match it,
I
huh?
love this.
It's super cute. So, Dave Ramsey, whatever,
Yes.
whoever you learn budgeting stuff
I mean, I feel better
from.
than I deserve after watching that. 100%. Great parenting, by the way.
Right?
Outstanding.
So the way he had the 3 envelopes, and if you didn't catch it, if she decided to put that $1 in for saving, parents would match it. So then it's kind of like, oh, you can earn more money if you save a little bit with interest or however
Yeah.
they're doing it. But then there's a giving envelope,
That
and
was
then
cool.
I love
the
that.
spending envelope, which she did add a little bit
she's
more
6.
into,
She's
But she
6.
didn't put it all. She wasn't like, oh, I'm putting it all into spending.
No.
She knows how to budget it out.
Yeah, I mean, $25 for a fairy costume, I feel like that's a reasonable price because a
I'd
lot
ask
of
for a
dresses
receipt
today.
because that sounds cheap. for
That's
a
what I thought,
costume.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So she,
Yeah.
she
Maybe
picked
they
well,
Facebook
I guess is my
Marketplace
point.
Yeah.
She picked
There you
well.
go.
She did.
Possibly.
I just thrift those things. So for my
I love
daughter.
this. I love the consumer math idea, right? Because that's an applicable thing that we can use. We have consumer math here at FPA. I actually was a guest teacher the other day, and they were presenting some projects where they had to pick a meal, and then they would go to the grocery store, buy all the ingredients for the meal, document it, and then what most of them did was then they went to the restaurant that served a similar meal and compared
Nice.
prices. And it was a phenomenal job by the consumer
Wow.
math group and really great presentations. I loved it.
How big of a difference was it?
Well, some of them picked steak, and it was kind of funny because some picked steak and didn't know the different cuts.
Oh.
So it really threw things off, but quite a few like pasta dishes, some that I put down on my future, need to make list. But it was a great project.
You're just in there taking notes, like, oh,
Yeah.
hold on,
Yeah.
wait. Awesome. All right, well, it is once again that special time when we are going to reveal our new question of the week. Here we go. If you had to pick just one genre of music to listen to for the rest of your life, just one, what would it be? Are you picking country, hip hop, classical, or rock? That's a tough one, but I'm going to have to ponder on. Visit classdismissed.tv and cast your vote today or tomorrow when you're really able to think this through. Now, we just want to say thank you for joining us today. And if you enjoyed the show, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow the podcast on Apple and Spotify. You can find all of the links at classdismissed.tv. Now, we will be back again next Tuesday with another great conversation. For Dave, Jim, Lindsay, and myself, have a great week. And until next time, class dismissed.